Do you ever wonder why some homes go under contract and then suddenly fall apart a few weeks later? Because right now, that's not just the exception, that's the pattern. Hi, I'm Tim Lockhart with Keller Williams Realty, and today we're going to be talking about something that every buyer and seller in today's market needs to understand. Why deals are falling out of contract at a much higher rate, and more importantly, how to protect yourself so it doesn't happen to you. And I'll tell you this. If you're planning a move, especially if you're in a time-sensitive situation like military PCS, you'll want to stick around. This could save you months of stress and thousands of dollars and a whole lot of uncertainty. So let's start with what's actually happening in the market right now. According to recent research, nationally, about 13 to 14% of home sale agreements fell through recently. Now that might not sound extreme at first until you compare it to what we've been used to over the past few years. And here locally in North Texas, these numbers are even higher. We're seeing recent numbers more like 15 to 17% locally. So what that means is this: roughly 1 out of every 6 deals are not making it to the closing table. And that's a big deal. And so the question becomes, why? There are 3 main pressure points where deals are breaking. Number 1, and this is the biggest one right now, is the home inspection and the repair negotiations. What used to be a formality has now become a battleground. Buyers are more cautious, they're more selective, and they're using the inspection period to negotiate aggressively or walk away entirely. Sometimes it's major issues, and a lot of times it's not. It can be something relatively minor that triggers concern, and suddenly the buyer starts to second guess the entire purchase. And if the seller isn't prepared for this, then the deal can fall apart fast. Number 2 is financing. This is where things get really tricky. Buyers are getting deeper into the process and then something changes. Maybe their monthly payment feels too high. Maybe underwriting uncovers an issue. Or sometimes it's something the buyer did without realizing the consequences. And this is where I want to pause for a second and speak directly to buyers. If you're under contract on a home, do not make any major financial moves. Don't go buy a car, don't finance furniture, don't open new credit cards. Because as outlined in the book The Shift by Gary Keller, there are what's called the 7 don'ts of mortgage funding. And one of the biggest risks is buyers unintentionally disqualifying themselves before closing. And I've seen it happen. Everything is moving forward, and then right at the finish line, the loan just falls apart. And number 3 is simply the environment we're in. Buyers have more leverage right now. Not that the market's bad. We're not in an extreme buyer's market. However, buyers do have more options than just a few years ago. They have more time to think and less pressure to move forward if something doesn't feel right. So they're walking away more often. Now, here's the real takeaway. In today's market, getting under contract is no longer the goal. Getting to the closing table is the goal. Now, there's another layer to all of this that we really need to talk about because it's becoming a major factor in today's real estate transactions. A lot of buyers and sellers are now turning to AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, and others before they ever call an agent. And listen, I think AI is an incredible tool. I use it myself. But there's a huge difference between using AI as a tool and using AI as your strategist. So at a very high level, these systems are called LLMs, or large language models. Basically, they've been trained on an enormous amount of information from the internet and can generate responses that sound incredibly convincing. But here's the key thing that people need to understand. LLMs are optimized for coherent answers, not necessarily objective truth. And the wording of the prompt dramatically affects the answer that you get. If you ask a question from a buyer's perspective, AI tends to frame the answer in a way that validates the buyer's concerns. If you ask the same situation from a seller's perspective, it may validate the seller. That's called confirmation bias. It's attempting to verify the premise of the question. And that becomes dangerous in a real estate transaction because two people on the same transaction can ask AI the same basic question and walk away with completely opposite conclusions. And honestly, that's where experienced representation matters more than ever. Because AI can model a market, but it can't model a deal. It doesn't understand the human side of the transaction. It doesn't know the motivations. It doesn't know the stress level of a military family trying to execute a PCS move on a strict timeline. It doesn't know if a seller is trying to avoid carrying two mortgages. It doesn't know if the buyer's parents are helping with funds behind the scenes. It doesn't know about marital situations, job relocations, health concerns, emotions, or family dynamics that are shaping decisions. And it definitely doesn't know the smell inside of the house, the deferred maintenance hidden behind fresh paint, or the fact that 3 serious buyers are quietly circling a property off market. AI knows data, and a seasoned real estate professional understands context. And context is what holds deals together. That's why in this market, interpretation has become one of the most valuable skills an agent can bring to the table. My role is not just opening doors and filling out paperwork. It's helping clients interpret reality clearly. It's helping separate emotion from strategy. It's identifying where a deal is at risk before it blows up. And it's understanding all the things that never show up in an AI prompt, but absolutely affect the outcome of the transaction. So yes, use AI, ask questions, research the market, and become informed. And when it comes to one of the largest financial decisions of your life, you need more than information. You need wisdom, strategy, negotiation experience, and somebody who can navigate the human side of the deal. Because AI can give you answers, but it can't sit across the table, read the room, solve the tension, negotiate the repair amendment, calm fears, manage timelines, and get everybody to the closing table. That still requires a professional. And that's exactly why in this market, having the right agent is no longer just helpful, it's a necessity. This is something Gary Keller talks about in The Shift. Real estate professionals don't just make sales, we make sure it closes. Because there are moments of truth in every transaction where things can go wrong. And our job as the agent is to anticipate those moments and prevent the breakdown before it happens. So let's talk about how to bulletproof a transaction, especially from the seller side. First, and this is one of the most powerful things that you can do, get a pre-listing inspection. This changes everything. Instead of waiting for the buyer to discover problems, you already know what's there. You can fix the major issues ahead of time, and you can document those repairs. And now, when a buyer comes in, there are fewer surprises. And fewer surprises means fewer reasons for the deal to fall apart. And here's the part that many people miss. It also strengthens your negotiation position, because now you can show the condition before and after. You're not reacting to the inspection, you're controlling the narrative. Second, is being proactive with repairs. Focus on the big ticket items, the roof, the HVAC, the foundation, the plumbing, and the electrical. These are the areas that scare buyers. Handle those up front, and you can remove the biggest objection before they even come up. Third is strong communication and expectation setting. One of the biggest issues highlighted in The Shift is the breakdown in communication between agents, lenders, and clients. When people don't know what's happening, they get nervous. And when they get nervous, they start questioning the deal. And that's when things unravel. So part of my role is keeping everyone aligned, informed, and moving forward with confidence. Now I want to shift gears for a minute and talk about a group that this really impacts, our military families. If you're a military homeowner going through a PCS move, the stakes are even higher. And you don't have the luxury of waiting around for a deal to fall apart and starting over. You're on a timeline. You have orders. You have a report no later than date, and in many cases, you have a family depending on that transaction to go smoothly. If your home falls out of contract, it doesn't just create inconvenience. It can delay your move. It can cause real financial strain. And in some cases, it can even mean being separated from your family temporarily while everything gets sorted out. I've been there. When I was PCSing, I had to move from Langley Air Force Base, leaving my family in Virginia, while I moved because the house didn't sell on time. That's no fun. I get it. That's why strategy matters so much. It isn't just about listing a home. It's about engineering a smooth transition. And that means doing everything we can on the front end to prevent problems on the back end. That includes pre-inspections, strong buyer vetting, clear timelines, and constant communication throughout the process. Because in this market, hope is not a strategy. Preparation is. And I want to leave you with this thought. Technology is changing real estate rapidly. AI tools are becoming part of the process. The market is shifting, and transactions are becoming more complex, not less. But through all that, one thing has not changed. People still need trusted guidance. They still need strategy. They still need someone who can anticipate problems before they happen and help navigate the emotional and financial realities that no algorithm can fully understand. So whether you're buying, selling, preparing for a military PCS move, or just trying to understand how to navigate this changing market intelligently, let's have a conversation. We'll put together a strategy that protects your timeline, your finances, and your peace of mind from day one all the way to the closing table. If this video was helpful, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's thinking about buying or selling in today's market. And if you have questions about your specific situation, feel free to call, text, or email me directly. This is Tim Lockhart with Keller Williams Realty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.